first colony we found was Veteran Station. 1,700 people, all present, all accounted for, all breathing. That was the worst part. The Sorath hadn't killed anyone. They had simply reached inside each of them and taken the part that made them a person, and left the rest running. I was 48 years old and had spent 26 of those years reading threat assessments. I had read accounts of wars, massacres, the slow extinction of 2 minor species by resource competitors who felt no particular malice. Nothing in that library prepared me for the ward on Veteran Station, where 1,700 colonists sat in clean beds with their eyes open and tracked movement but did not speak, did not reach, did not cry. The attending physician, a woman named Pyres, who had been stationed there alone when we arrived, because she had arrived after the harvest and had nowhere to go, told me they responded to pain. That was all. She said it quietly, the way you say a thing you have been alone with for too long. Filed the preliminary report from the shuttle before we reached orbit. The Directorate of Final Accounting received it in 16 minutes. In 18 minutes I had a return signal Vorn, confirm scope, how many sites? I told them I didn't know yet. They told me to find out. 4 months. The final count was 17 colony worlds. The earliest harvest we could date was 41 years prior. The Sorath continuance. A civilization of cold-pressed minds that had never, in any recorded communication, acknowledged that biological nervous tissue constituted a person, rather than a substrate, had been moving through the outer settlements quietly for 4 decades. They had taken no territory. They had destroyed nothing. They had extracted the higher neural architecture of approximately 29,000 human beings, compressed it into storage lattices, and used it to run their computational infrastructure. The colonists had been left behind because they were no longer useful, not because the Sorath had any concept of mercy. I submitted the final scope report on a Tuesday. The Directorate responded on Thursday with a 2-line authorization. First line was the designation, Pyre mandate. The second line was the fleet count, 800 hulls, plus flagship, 1 ship per world, plus 1 for the accounting. I read that second line twice. I am not a man who frightens easily. I want to be honest about what I felt reading it. Not satisfaction, not grief, something older. The recognition that a decision had been made at a level above emotion and that the mathematics of it were final. 29,000 colonists hollowed across 17 worlds, 41 years of quiet harvest, and the Directorate had sat with their ledger and come to a number. 800. The disproportion was not an accident, it was the message. Was assigned Flag Intelligence Officer on the Dreadnought Reckoner, lead ship of the Mandate. We departed Consolidated Dock 7 on a Wednesday morning. I watched the other 799 hulls form up in the transit corridor from the observation deck because I needed to see it with my own eyes. They took 40 minutes to clear the dock system. Long, dark shapes against the planet below, sun glint on hull plating that had been painted over in flat black for this transit. No running lights. The Pyre mandate did not announce itself. Our intelligence on the Sorath home installation was thorough. They had not hidden. There was no reason to hide from species they did not classify as combatants. We had 17 years of passive signals data, approach vectors, installation schematics pulled from intercepted maintenance traffic. The Sorath continuance had been transmitting openly for most of that time. They communicated in dense mathematical packets, efficient and cold, and in none of those transmissions, 17 years, or millions of packets, had any signal referred to the harvested neural architecture as anything other than acquired substrate. 39,000 human names. Substrate. We transited in standard column, no deception protocols, no stealth approach. The Directorate had been specific on this point. The Pyre mandate was not an ambush. It was a delivery. The Sorath installation registered us at 400,000 kilometers. We received a query packet 12 seconds later. Dense mathematics. A navigation challenge. A request for identification. Standard approach protocol for an unknown fleet. Our signals officer, a quiet man named Treeth, who had 3 brothers on one of the 17 worlds, looked at me across the bridge. I told him to send the accounting. We had prepared it during the 4-month investigation. Every colony, every site, every date range, every name we had recovered, was most of them. The Sorath record-keeping was meticulous, because they had needed to track the substrate's provenance for quality control. 29,411 names, world by world in the order the harvest had occurred, oldest to most recent. Demands, no ultimatum, no language of war, just the names and the dates and the designation Pyre mandate and the fleet count. The Sorath went quiet for 11 minutes. I have always assumed they spent that time processing the document, because they were a logical civilization and the document was long. Then they queried again. Single packet much shorter. The translation came back as approximately. These are listed as acquired substrate in our infrastructure records. What is the nature of your claim? Prepared an answer for that too. Treth sent it. 7 words. The nature of our claim is this. The Pyre mandate executed in 4 hours and 31 minutes. The installation was large, a deep system complex of 17 primary nodes, each one corresponding, as our intelligence confirmed, to the neural substrate pulled from one of the 17 worlds. We had known this before we left dock. The Directorate had known it before they wrote the fleet count. 800 ships, 17 nodes, 1 for the accounting. The numbers had been built around the architecture of what the Sorath had done, and what they had built with what they had taken. We did not glass the worlds around the installation. We did not pursue Sorath vessels that fled the system. The mandate's orders were precise: the installation, the nodes, the substrate archives, the infrastructure that ran on what had been human, nothing else. The Directorate had drawn the line with a steady hand. I stood at the viewport on the Reckoner's Bridge and watched the nodes go dark, one by one. It was not spectacular. Distant light, then absence. The operation was quiet the way a demolition crew is quiet, deliberate, methodical. Each action the product of a long calculation made by people who had stopped feeling and started measuring. After the 4th node, one of my junior analysts, a woman named Petra, young enough that she had not been alive when the first harvest occurred, asked me what we were going to file as the operational outcome. It was a reasonable question. There were forms, I told her to write. Mandate satisfied. Substrate recovered. I used the Sorath word deliberately. She understood why after a moment and did not ask anything else. The last node went dark at 14 minutes past the hour. Commander Vale, who was running the tactical board, called it complete without any particular inflection. Treth logged the timestamp. I remained at the viewport a while longer, looking at the space where the installation had been. 29,411 names. I knew a number of them, not personally, by file. The physician Karas had given me a list of the veteran colonists written by hand, because she had known all of them before the harvest and had wanted someone outside the station to hold the names. I had carried that list for 4 months. I still have it. I do not know what the Sorath continuance told the rest of the galaxy about what happened in their home system that day. I know what we told them. We sent the accounting, the same document we had transmitted to the installation, 29,000 names, the 17 worlds, the dates, to every signatory of the Outer Compact, every neutral clearinghouse, every deep relay station with a broadcast range that reached inhabited space. No statement, no warning, no declaration. Just the names and the dates, and what had come after. The Sorath did not respond. In the years since, no civilization in the Compact has raised the subject of human colonists in any context that might be described as an inventory question. Some things do not need to be said twice.